This episode is brought to you by Microsoft Azure. Turn your ideas into reality with an Azure free account. Get everything you need to develop apps across cloud and hybrid environments, scale workloads, create cloud-connected mobile experiences, and so much more. Discover what you can create with popular services free for 12 months. Learn more at azure.com. That's AZURE.com. And sign up for a free account to start building in the cloud today.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger, where you'll find over 30,000 mouth-watering choices that excite your inner foodie. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices, plus extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week. You can also save up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with fuel points. More savings and more inspiring flavors make shopping Kroger worth it every time. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
What's good, boys and girls? Welcome to Two Footed Extra, the second pod of the day. This is the new format. We'll have the main body of the pod come out as the Two Footed pod. And then of an evening, you'll get this, the Two Footed Extra, which is basically just going to be news and gossip and keeping everything up to date. So, let's have a look. Manchester United have agreed a £42 million deal to sign Manuel Ugarte from PSG. There is, I think, $7.5 million in add-ons to go on top of that as well. I love him. I think he's a fantastic player. Great at what he does. The fit with him and Manu is horrible. On the ball and off the ball. Neither of them are positionally disciplined. Both of them will go ball hunting, leaving United very open in the middle of the field. And then on the ball, neither of them are good progressive passers. Now, Manu's a good progressive carrier, but he's not a good progressive passer. So I'm really curious to see how that works. I think Ugarte and Casemiro works well. But Casemiro's obviously well past his peak and very, very slow. He does have good passing. He does have good positional discipline. If he's not being asked to cover too much ground, I do think he can still play. I think Jamie Carragher was very quick to retire him last season with his leave the football before the football leaves you line. I don't think the football has left him yet. I just think you have to be very careful how you use him and not ask him to overextend himself. I think Ugarte and Casemiro works well. And I don't think Manu is ready to be starting for a team that has ambitions of finishing top four anyway. I think Manu would be better coming off the bench, similar to Garnacho. He's not ready to start every week either. So with Ahmad playing well and Rashford being Rashford, I think it makes more sense to have Garnacho off the bench, and I think it'll make more sense to have Manu off the bench as well. I think a Ugarte-Casemiro double pivot gives a platform for Bruno Fernandes to play from. And I think that's vital to United. United will go as far as Bruno Fernandes can carry them. Simple as that. What else have we got here? Kepa is set to join Bournemouth on loan from Chelsea. Now, he is signing a 1-year extension to his contract. Of course, he signed for Chelsea in 2018 for £71 million and signed a 7-year contract on massive money. Last year, he was out on loan with Real Madrid and was dropped, having started the season as first choice. After Thibaut Courtois got hurt, they brought him in. He began as first choice. He was dropped. Lunin took over, kept the spot. And then when Courtois came back, Kepa wasn't even making the bench. There was some talk that he might stay there if Lunin left, because they were quite happy with his personality and how he was around the place. And he's not a bad goalkeeper at all. I think it's a good get for Bournemouth. I think he's an improvement on Neto. But it's been a disaster for Chelsea. He was first choice for 2 years. Then he lost his spot to Mendy. Then he became first choice again, and he did okay for spells. But Pochettino wanted nothing to do with him. Maresca wants nothing to do with him. And now he's going on loan to Bournemouth. And there's zero chance Bournemouth are covering his full wages. Which means Chelsea are probably going to pay half the wages, which is about 75 grand a week for half the wages. 75 grand a week to play for somebody else. That's a well-run club. They've also extended his contract for a year. I think they think that somehow they'll be able to sell him next summer. It would have been much smarter to just let him go on loan and not extend his contract and just have him leave at the end of the season. Now, I know why they've done it. It's because at the moment he sits on their books for zero, so they don't have any investment in him now. It's all been brought off the books through amortization. So if they could sell him, they'd get him. Everything would be profit. Even if they got 5 million, it would count as 5 million profit for him, and they wouldn't make a loss. Technically, even though they obviously would be making a significant loss. My guess is he goes to Bournemouth. He does pretty well. There's no permanent deal to be had there because of the wages, unless he's willing to take a massive reduction, in which case, whatever fee Chelsea get, a big chunk of it will have to go towards paying off the last year of that contract that they've just given him. And I think Chelsea are just one of the dumbest clubs I've ever seen. Ryan Gould has been called up to the Scottish squad. Now, he plays for Vancouver Whitecaps, where he is their captain. He was called up for Scotland 10 years ago by Gordon Strachan. Did not get any game time. Has not been called up since. But now at the age of 28, Steve Clarke is calling him up to give him an opportunity. And look, he's a talented player. Came through at Dundee United. Looked very, very exciting. He's a diminutive, pacey, left-footed player. So obviously the comparisons were immediately made to Lionel Messi. And they were obviously foolish because there's never going to be... Well, I say there's never going to be another Messi, but we never thought there'd be another Maradona. So who knows? Maybe there will be another Messi in 10 or 15 years, but it wasn't going to be this fella. But he is very talented. He's had a weird career. So he went from Dundee. There was a contract dispute. He went to Sporting. Sporting sent him on loan a couple of times. He did okay. Then they loaned him back to Hibs, and he did pretty well there. They sold him to Farennes, I should say, where he'd previously been on loan and done well. Never really got... I don't know if he played a whole lot for Sporting. I want to say maybe one season he played with them. Let's have a quick gander there. Ryan Gould. Let's see. So he was owned by Sporting for 5 years. He had 4 loans. No, he played 5 times for Sporting in his first season there and never played for the senior team again. He did have 2 seasons in their academy, but when he went to Farennes, they were in the 2nd division, and he did well in the first season, then did really well in the 2nd season when they'd been promoted. And then off he went to Vancouver Whitecaps, and he's been there now 4 years, and to his credit, he's putting up good numbers. Last season, 12 goals in 42 games, 11 and 32 in the league. This season, 10 and 29, 9 and 24 in the league. So, credit to him. He's earned that call-up. That's not a pity call-up. That's something he's earned. I hope he gets his cap, and I hope he stays in the squad. Sandro Tonali returns to the Newcastle squad. So his ban expires today, meaning that tomorrow he is free to play football again, and he will be in the Newcastle squad for their League Cup game against Nottingham Forest. I assume he won't start. I assume he'll get minutes off the bench because he's been out a long time. It'd be a bit much to ask him to come straight back in, but be good to see him play. It'll be good to see him play. Manchester City have agreed a $21.2 million deal to sell João Cancelo. He will join Saudi Arabian club Al Hilal and become the next big name to join the Saudi Pro League. Cristiano Ronaldo says Al Nassr will probably be his last club before he retires. He's 39 now. He says he'll retire in 2 or 3 years, which likely means he's going to insist on playing for his national team for 2 or 3 more years and hurting their chances of winning anything. Samuel Illing Jr. has joined Bologna on loan from Aston Villa. He obviously joined Villa this summer as part of the Douglas Luiz deal. He's a talented player, but I think Villa smartly have looked at their options and realised we don't have the minutes for him this year. You've got Bailey, you've got McGinn who plays wide for them, Morgan Rogers can play wide, you've got Jacob Ramsey who primarily plays wide for them, you've got Jadon Philligan, who they brought back in the summer after a season with Hull, who also obviously is a winger. So it makes sense. I do wonder with Illing Jr. if he's a little bit positionless. Like when he was at Juve, he was playing wing, central midfield, fullback, wing back. So I do wonder if there's just a little bit with Villa where they don't really know where he's going to play at the moment, but they can see the talent. The talent is obvious. And maybe they want him to go somewhere and get minutes playing regularly in one position and developing in one position. Nigeria have appointed Bruno Labbadia, the former Stuttgart manager, as their new head coach ahead of next year's African Cup of Nations qualifying campaign. So fair play to them for that. Brighton have confirmed the signing of Matt O'Reilly. I think I mentioned that one yesterday. We'll check in with David Ornstein and see if there's anything new from him. Eddie Nketiah granted permission by Arsenal to undergo a medical ahead of completing a proposed move to Crystal Palace. Final agreement will be worth $30 million. I assume that's inclusive of some add-ons, and there's no problems expected on personal terms. Scott McTominay's move from Manchester United to Napoli is now down to finalising personal terms between him and Napoli. Not flying out yet, but subject to an agreement on the contract, he will travel for the proposed switch. Looks like they're trying to add him and Billy Gilmore in the next couple of days. Manuel Ugarte is travelling to England today. Manor Solomon has completed his loan to Leeds United on a season-long deal. No buy option. Atletico Madrid are exploring a deal to sign Matheus Nunes on a season-long loan from Manchester City. He's a very, very Simeone-type midfielder. I do wonder if him and Gallagher, though, is that a midfield that's going to work for them? We'll see. Let's check in with my best friend Fabrizio. So his pinned tweet is that Liverpool have made an approach for Federico Chiesa. Now, when he pins something, it generally means it's further along than he's actually saying, because he did that with Ugarte the other day as well. So I do think that deal likely gets done. Benfica are advancing in talks to sign Zeki Amdouni. I mentioned that earlier in the earlier pod, along with the buy clause. He's such a talented player. It didn't really work at Burnley, but I think if they'd gotten a progressive manager in rather than Scotty Two-Coats, maybe something could have been worked out there. Despite new bid being rejected yesterday, Nottingham Forest are still trying to make the Santiago Jimenez deal happen. He's the top target, and despite other links, Forest are still trying to find a way. Complicated deal, but Forest are not giving up yet. Now, There was reports yesterday that he didn't want the move, but I'm assuming if they're making, this will be a fourth bid. If they make another one, it would be bid number 4. I'm assuming that means he's given them the green light. Wojciech Szczesny, I should say, has retired from professional football. So it looked like he was going to move to Saudi Arabia this summer from Juve. That fell apart, and now he's decided to retire. Odilon Kasuno of Bayer Leverkusen is joining Atalanta on loan with an option to buy. It's a €5 million loan fee and a 25 million buy option. That's really good value for a very talented centre-back. Fabio Vieira has completed his loan move from Arsenal to Porto. Porto will pay his full salary. There is no buy option completed. Mikel Moreno has signed his 4-year contract with an option for a 5th year at Arsenal. Green light for Romelu Lukaku's move to Napoli. He's been authorised to travel for medical tests and contract signings. A €30 million permanent fee plus some add-ons. Contract until 2027. I believe there's a big sell-on clause in there as well, which is just never going to come into effect. Bayern Munich have accepted an offer from Al Hilal for Kingsley Coman. Now, it remains to see if the player wants to move, but I can see why Bayern would be open to selling him. He's had a lot of injury problems. He was very poor last year. Tino Anjorin leaves Chelsea to join Empoli. Permanent deal completed today. Chelsea will have a 50% sell-on clause for Anjorin. Tino Anjorin is 22 years of age. Coming through the Chelsea Academy, he was exceptionally highly rated. He made his debut in September of 2019 and has since played 4 more times for Chelsea's senior team. Was sent on 3 different loans and now at 22 is leaving for free. If ever there's a sign of an academy failure, this is it. Red Bull Salzburg in advanced talks to sign Stefan Bajcetic on loan from Liverpool. Negotiations at final stages with details to be clarified, but already underway. Bayer Leverkusen and Liverpool are in talks over Tyler Morton. A deal would be a loan with an option to buy. There's some talk that Liverpool are trying to push for an obligation to buy. We'll see what happens there. Leverkusen also want to sign a defender with Kasuno leaving. Liverpool and Valencia are now signing all documents in the Mamardashvili deal. It's signed and sealed. €30 million, 5 million in add-ons, a sell-on clause of 10%, a 6-year contract for Mamardashvili, and he will stay with Valencia on loan for the upcoming season. Chelsea have completed the deal for Mike Penders, yet another goalkeeper. This one's 19, so, yet another young goalkeeper after Slanina and Jorgensen. He will stay with Genk for a year. Kevin Danzo is joining AS Roma. It's a great deal. €22 million plus 3 million in add-ons. A really, really good deal for a very good centre-back. La Liga confirm Barcelona have now completed the process to register Dani Olmo. However, it's only a temporary registration. He's registered until December, but they've had to unregister somebody. I believe it's Andreas Christensen. So, getting rid of the players they got rid of wasn't enough. They're a train wreck, an absolute train wreck. Now, he's a really good player, and I'm delighted for him that he's gotten his move. But what a mess of a club. Understand Arsenal have included the following details into Fabio Vieira's loan move. Loan fee will be based on objective, specific conditions to match during the season. Penalty clauses if he doesn't play 50% of all matches. Now, obviously, there will be room for wiggle room there if he gets injured or whatever. Manchester United will receive a package worth $9 million for Hannibal Mejbri from Burnley, inclusive of add-ons. There's also a sell-on clause, so that one's done. Juventus have booked a medical for Teun Koopmeiners for tomorrow. we'll see if that comes to fruition. Francisco Conceição has joined Juventus from Porto on a loan for 7 million and a further 3 million in add-ons. So they're selling Chiesa to downgrade to Conceição. Okay. So Coop Miners, it looks like that one is done as well. 52 million euro fixed fee and 7 million in add-ons. Yeah, I mean, fair enough. I'm curious to see how the midfield works this season, because they've signed Douglas Luiz, they've signed Kefren Turam, they've got some really good young midfielders there. They've also got Locatelli. Now, I am holding out hope that maybe Liverpool might just pluck Locatelli this summer, but it is probably foolish hope. Right, that's that. We'll be back after the break with the gossip. See you in a second.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger, where you'll find over 30,000 mouth-watering choices that excite your inner foodie. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices, plus extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week. You can also save up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with fuel points. More savings and more inspiring flavors make shopping Kroger worth it every time. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
Right, welcome back. So, into the gossip then. Napoli and Nigeria striker Victor Osimhen would prefer a move to Chelsea rather than the rumoured move to Saudi Arabia. I mean, that's understandable. Chelsea play in the Premier League. He's one of the best strikers in the world. He'd likely rather play in one of the best leagues in the world, or the best league in the world, depending on your point of view. Chelsea don't have the money to buy him, don't have the wiggle room to buy him under profit sustainability. Now, they've shattered profit sustainability already, so it probably doesn't make a difference. They might be tempted to just do it, stick two fingers up and just take the punishment when it comes. But it could be an absolute monster punishment. Like, to so flagrantly break the rules, that could be like 25 points, something crazy. Certainly a transfer ban. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. They have been linked today to Ivan Toney. Now, Ivan Toney's also been linked with moves to Saudi Arabia. I think Toney would be mad to go at this point. But, as I've said before, I do understand why he would be drawn to the money, given he's never had a Premier League contract. He's had League One and Championship contracts. And when he was at Newcastle, he had like a young player contract. Brought in from Northampton for pennies. He's probably on a couple of grand a week. So I could see why he would want to maximise his earning. Raheem Sterling would consider a move to Manchester United. But why? Like, let's think about this for a second. United have, on the left wing, Marcus Rashford and Alejandro Garnacho. On the right wing, they have Amad Diallo and Anthony. Now, Raheem might look at that and think, well, I'm better than all of them. Now, I don't think he's better than Rashford, but he is better than the other three. However, this is a manager who likes having inverted wingers. He likes a lefty on the right and a righty on the left. So Raheem can only play for him off the left. You've also got Mason Mount there, whose primary positions are 10 or off the left. So they've got a bit of a logjam. They don't have any need for Raheem Sterling. It wouldn't change his situation from what he currently has at Chelsea, where he's not an automatic starter. I think Raheem might have to broaden his horizons a little bit. I think that would be a terrible move for him. I don't think it's a move that makes sense for United. Certainly the proposed Sancho for Sterling swap doesn't make sense for anybody other than to fiddle their books, because they could both lump in big incoming fee for the player departing and then amortise the outgoing fee for the player coming in across 5 years. But then you're still stuck with that player. You're still having to pay them massive money. And remember, Raheem is on 300 grand a week at Chelsea. Sancho's on 300 grand a week at United. They want to reduce their wage bills. That deal doesn't help reduce the wage bill at all, because neither of them are taking a pay cut for that move, because neither of them go to that new club as a starter. What have we got next then? There's Eddie Nketiah. Celtic are interested in re-signing Odsonne Edouard from Crystal Palace. If Kyogo leaves, I could see it. I could definitely see it. Newcastle are close to agreeing a £70 million deal for Mark Guehi. That's written by Sammy Mockbell. Now, I love Mark Guehi. I think he's excellent. I'm about as big a fan as you'll find of Mark Guehi, or Guehi. He's not worth 70 million. Like, he's just not worth 70 million. I understand that other defenders who are not elite have gone for that and more, but he's a £50 million centre-back at maximum. And if I was Newcastle, I would be saying to him, look, they've priced you out of this move, but we still want you. So next summer, on June 1st, when the window for clubs to buy English club to English club opens, we're coming in with an offer. So don't sign a new deal. Don't do anything. We're going to pay you a ton of money. You're going to have to wait for us, though. And I'd go and I'd buy Nathaniel Chalobah for 20 million off Chelsea to come in, be the short-term fix at centre-back. You've got Schär. Botman will be back. Lloyd Kelly's a better centre-back than left-back. Dan Burn is probably going to play more centre-back than left-back this season because they'll want to get Lewis Hall minutes. Chalobah fills the gap they have in that group. And then if you get Guehi next summer, you've got two really good defenders with Botman, with Schär, with Byrne, with Kelly. You're in a good position. And I think you could get Chalobah for 20 million this summer and Guehi for 50 next summer. Maybe less, maybe 45. So for the same money, you'll get two defenders, one of whom is the one you want, the other of whom is a really good squad player to have. Can also cover you at defensive midfield, comfortable in a 2 or a 3, can play a bit of right back if you want a defensive presence there, would allow you maybe to sell on Kieran Trippier and make some money back. That's what I would do if I was the two. Mamardashvili, Matthias Nunes to Atleti. Nottingham Forest are planning a move for James Ward-Prowse, who is not in the plans of West Ham manager Julian Lopetegui. Not overly surprised that he's not in the plans because he's a very limited player. Outside of set pieces, he doesn't really offer a whole lot. Don't like the fit at all at Nottingham Forest. Not really sure where he'd fit in there. Certainly not playing the 10 with Morgan Gibbs-White. In the double pivot, it was Sangaré and Danilo who started the first game. It was Sangaré and Elliot Anderson in the second game, and I liked what they brought as a pairing. They've also got Ryan Yates, so I don't see where he gets games there. He could play wide right, though he doesn't have pace, but he is a great crosser. But Elanga's in good form. Could you make him a right back? I mean, you've got Nico Williams, you've got Ola Aina. Don't really see that either. I don't see the fit for Ward-Prowse at Nottingham Forest. West Ham are willing to listen to offers, but not actively looking to sell, says Sky Sports. And Nottingham Forest £29 million move for Santiago Jimenez has collapsed after he rejected their offer. Now, that was from the Telegraph. That was John Percy. So that's what he said happened. Romano is saying that the offer was not accepted, but maybe he did mean the contract offer rather than the offer to Feyenoord. I'm really curious to see what happens with this one. He's definitely an upgrade on what they have at the moment. I do like Iwani, and Wood has some value, But Jimenez is a much better player than either of them. It looked like they were going to get Nketiah, and then that one fell apart. I assume because they thought they were going to be able to get Jimenez. I assume that was part of it. I assume maybe Nketiah as well wasn't overly keen on the idea of moving to Nottingham. He's a London boy, maybe he wanted to stay in the south. But I'm hopeful they will get Jimenez in. I want to see him in the Premier League. I think that's the right move for him. I think him and Gibbs White could create some magic there. I think we're going to see more from Hudson-Odoi this season, more from Elanga this season, and that becomes a very exciting front four. If the Neo gets back maybe around January, then him and Sangaré gives them that platform. You've got Murillo at centre-back, is going strength to strength. Milenkovic is a good get. They've got Omobamidele there, who I really like. They did bring in Alex Moreno at left-back, who is an upgrade on Toffolo and on Aina on account of actually being a left-back, but it's very attack-minded, so I'm not sure you can play him and Nico Williams together, but you could play Omobamidele right-back and him left-back, Moreno left-back, and then have Milenkovic and Murillo as the back three. That could work. As back two, but it shapes into a three in possession with Omobamidele staying deep. Then Elanga can give you your width one side. Moreno can give it to the other side. You've got those two in midfield, whether it's Sangaré and Yates, Sangaré and Anderson, or when he comes back, Sangaré and the Neo, giving you a defensive platform. Hudson-Odoi can move more centrally with Gibbs White and give you more creativity. And then you've got your nine. That could be a good team. I just don't like this manager. Not a fan of Nuno. I used to like him when he was at Wolves until the last year when it all got very, very dull. And then he was obviously a disaster when he went to Spurs. He was a disaster over in Saudi. And I haven't liked what I've seen at Nottingham Forest. I just don't like the brand of football he's trying to play. Don't think he gets the best out of some really talented attackers. That, I think, is the last bit of gossip for today. Oh, hang on. Newcastle have renewed attempts to sign James Trafford. It could be a loan with an obligation to buy. That's a good deal for Newcastle. And Burnley have brought in Etienne Green, so I think they're covered in goal. So I could see that one. He comes in as the understudy for Pope, with obviously the view that he becomes the long-term starter. He fits in the timeline with Livramento, with Lewis Hall, with Botman, with Guehi, if they get that deal done. That's a long-term set defence, a keeper that could be very, very good. Brentford are interested in Fiorentina right-back Michael Cleode, although other clubs also want the 20-year-old. Super talented. And Brentford desperately need a right-back. So yeah, I would be all over that one. Brentford have opened talks with Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. Ajax also interested. He's obviously leaving Besiktas. Brentford could make sense. They could do with a bit of fresh blood in midfield, and he would help. Whether or not he's still got the level in him, I don't know. Ajax could make sense from because that's a league he could play in his sleep. Napoli still expect to complete a £12.5 million deal for Billy Gilmour and want him in their squad by Saturday. I'm curious as to how Gilmour, McTominay and Lobotka and Zambo all play in the one midfield. Very curious, to be honest. Feyenoord have inquired about Wolves' 22-year-old Mali winger, Boubacar Traoré. Boubacar Traoré is a ball-winning defensive midfielder, not a winger. But Feyenoord could be a good move for him. Wolves have got quite a few players in midfield, so maybe he goes there to replace Wiefer. I think he could do really well in that league. Wolves have had a bid for Ethan Sunderland, rejected by St Mirren. He's an 18-year-old Scottish midfielder. Kingsley Coleman is expected to leave Bayern. Tom Cannon might leave Leicester for $6 million this window, with Sheffield United and Luton both interested. Definitely Sheffield United could do them. They lose Brereton Diaz, they lose Jebbison, they lose Cameron Archer, so that's 3 strikers gone. Now, Jebbison didn't play at all last season, but, still. They did buy Kiefer Moore, who's not very good. Callan's a talented player. He was obviously at Everton, came through their academy. Leicester bought him last summer, I want to say, for $7.5 million. Let me just check on that. It doesn't say. I think it was about $7.5 million. He didn't play a bunch. He didn't really fit in with what they were trying to do last year. But there's definitely talent there. And I think if not a sale, certainly a loan to a championship club would do him the world of good this season. Southampton have sent a new offer to Corinthians as they look to recruit 23-year-old Brazil striker Yuri Alberto. Now, he is talented. I've seen a decent amount of him. He was at Santos, then went to Internacional, then went to Zenit. Didn't really seem to settle in Russia, but was playing quite well in the games I watched. Went back to Corinthians on loan, did pretty well, so they made it a permanent deal. Not fully sure as to why he left Zenit. Maybe he just didn't settle at all. It seems like it was a weird deal that took place, where a bunch of players moved between Internacional, Zenit, and Corinthians, and it was all wrapped up into one deal. But yeah, I mean, he's a good striker, which is what they need. They need a goal scorer, and he might be the one that can do that for them. We've seen them unusually scout the Brazilian league this summer, and they've got 2 deals lined up from Sao Paulo for January. Juan, who's a young forward, I think he already joined? Did they bring that one forward and then loan him out? Yeah. So in July, they signed him to a pre-contract to join in January, and then they went back and they agreed a deal to basically buy him, but to loan him to Göztepe in Turkey for some experience for the season. So they're obviously not planning on having him till next summer. And then Wellington, who is a left back, he's also signed and will join in January. So yeah, maybe 3 deals in this summer for them. They've also obviously sold a player to Brazil. It's a deal I hate. It's a deal I don't like at all. Carlos Alcaraz is going to Flamengo on loan. No, sorry, on a permanent deal, a £17 million deal from Southampton. I hate this deal because he's such a fun player. Now, I do watch a decent amount of Brazilian football, but I generally just watch Palmeiras. I'll have to watch some Flamengo. I really like him. I was so happy when he came over to Southampton, and he did really well there. Went to Juve on loan in January. It didn't go great, but what's crazy is the buy option in that deal was like £43 million, and now he's leaving for 17. Like, he still had years left on his contract. Signed a 4.5-year deal in January 2023. Then they get relegated. He signs a new 5-year contract in October of 2023, and then less than a year later, they're selling. They paid 12. There was a 15% future sell on. They're selling him for 17. So it's 5 million profit less the 15%, which is obviously less than £1 million, but still. Now, I know that he'll have come off the books for a little bit, so he'll be on the books for maybe about 9. But still, like, you're only going to make, in real terms, about 4 million off him. He's so talented. He's in 21. He'll be back in Europe before long. I think he's going to be a real player. Right, that is the end of the gossip. This 2-footed extra has gone longer than I had hoped, but that is what happens when I start rambling. I will see you all tomorrow. 2-footed podcast out, and then the 2-footed extra out beyond that. the two-footed pod tomorrow is just going to be an ode to Sven-Göran Eriksson. Nothing else is happening. I'm just talking about Sven. The extra will have news and gossip, but the main pod will just be about Sven tomorrow. So I'll see you then. Bye-bye.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.